Topic is parotid gland part 2 and I'm R. Abhinaya. Okay, now let's move on. Just before going on with this video, in the first part I would have dealt the relations of parotid gland in detail. So if you are thorough with that, then this video is just going to be a cakewalk for you. So I have taken a three-dimensional picture of parotid gland so that it will be much easier for you to visualize and interpret all the structures. There are three structures which pass through the parotid gland, that is they pierce the parotid gland. They are the facial nerve and its branches, the temporal branch, the zygomatic branch, the buccal branch, the mandibular branch and the cervical branch. Then you have an artery and a vein. The external carotid artery and its branches and the retromandibular vein and its branches. So the three structures are, I repeat once again, the facial nerve, the external carotid artery and the retromandibular vein. Okay, now let's see in detail about the three structures, the facial nerve, the retromandibular vein and the external carotid artery. So the facial nerve, its course and its branches is dealt by Karthikeyan in a separate video. So please, I just don't want to repeat it again. Go and check it out in our channel. I will just explain to you these two structures, that is the retromandibular vein and the external carotid artery. Okay, the retromandibular vein is formed by two veins, that is the posterior division of the external jugular vein and the anterior division of the common facial vein. These two form the retromandibular vein, which has three tributaries: the superficial temporal vein, which supplies the temporal region, the transverse facial vein and the maxillary vein. Now when it comes to external carotid artery, it has another branch, nothing much, it's just the same. We have the posterior auricular artery, the maxillary artery, the transverse facial artery and the superficial temporal artery. So the three structures which pierce the parotid gland are facial nerve, retromandibular vein and the external carotid artery. Now, so just mark it up in your books. Parotid duct, its course is a very important 3-mark question, or I think even it is asked as a 5-mark question also. Parotid duct is also called as the Stenson's duct. Stenson is the scientist who discovered it, so it's named after him. The course of the parotid duct, I just want you guys to concentrate on this diagram. I have not put anything in words, so just follow as I say. After the parotid duct emerges from the parotid gland, it runs forward over the masseter muscle in between the upper and the lower buccal branches of the facial nerve. It's not depicted over here in the picture, but just remember it runs between the upper and the lower buccal branches of the facial nerve. Then it takes a bend. This is the first bend. It takes a bend at 90 degrees and while it goes, it pierces through three structures, that is nothing but the buccal pad of fat, the buccopharyngeal fascia and the buccinator muscle. Just remember 3 B's: buccal pad of fat, buccopharyngeal fascia and the buccinator muscle. After it pierces, it takes a second bend where it passes parallelly along the buccinator muscle and it takes the third bend and pierces the mucous membrane, where it opens in the vestibule of the mouth opposite to the second molar tooth. Parotid gland. I have tried to depict the nerve supply in the form of a flow chart so that it would be easy for you guys to follow up. So we have the sympathetic nerve supply, the parasympathetic nerve supply and the sensory nerve supply. The one which is depicted in green is the sympathetic nerve supply. So it starts from the inferior salivary nucleus in the midbrain, then through the 9th cranial nerve, which is the glossopharyngeal nerve, it relays to the tympanic branch of the glossopharyngeal nerve, which is also called as the Jacobson's nerve. This passes the signals to the tympanic plexus, then to the lesser petrosal nerve and relays in an aortic ganglion. The post-ganglionic fibers from the aortic ganglion is carried through the auricular temporal nerve to the parotid gland. So this parasympathetic stimulation produces watery secretions from the parotid gland. Now let's go on to the Sympathetic stimulation. Okay. The sympathetic stimulation arises from the lateral horns of the T1 cranial segment. Then it is derived from a group of plexus, a plexus of nerves around the middle meningeal artery and supplies the parotid gland. So this sympathetic stimulation of parotid gland produces thick secretions. That is, the parasympathetic stimulus produces watery secretions and sympathetic stimulus produces thick mucus-like secretions from the parotid gland. Then we have the sensory nerve supply, the one over here in yellow. The sensory nerve supply is produced by two nerves. The auriculotemporal nerve also contributes to the sensory nerve supply. Then we have the greater auricular nerves, that is a few sensory branches of the greater auricular nerves. We would have studied the greater auricular nerve branches as a superficial relation of the parotid gland. So the sympathetic nerve supply, the parasympathetic nerve supply and the sensory nerve supply. Let's move on to the next topic. Next topic is the vascular supply, that is we have the arterial and the venous drainage. The arterial drainage, as we know, is derived from the external carotid and the superficial temporal arteries, and the venous drainage is through the retromandibular vein and the external jugular veins. It's pretty much obvious because we have studied these are the two structures which pierce the parotid gland. So they are the two structures which are supplying the parotid gland. Now we have come to the final part, the lymphatic drainage and the clinical anatomy. Lymphatic drainage, the parotid gland is drained through the superficial and the deep parotid lymph nodes. It's pretty much basic and it's very obvious, nothing much to explain about it. The clinical anatomy of parotid gland, I would like to mention just a few clinical anatomies because there are lots in your textbook. These five are the most important. First, we have mumps. Mumps is a viral disease which produces inflammation of the parotid gland, and this is called as parotitis. Second is abscess in the parotid gland. Its basic abscess is nothing but pus, so it's the pus collection in parotid gland. Third is xylography. Xylography is a radiological procedure to visualize the parotid duct and its course. So what they do is they will inject a cannula through the vestibule of the mouth, and through the cannula they will inject a radiopaque dye, and they will be able to visualize the course of the parotid gland. And the fourth one is the mixed parotid tumor, also called as pleomorphic adenoma. It's just a tumor or a cancer of the parotid gland. And the fifth one is the Fraze syndrome. So Fraze syndrome is very important from the entrance exam point of view also. So I would like to just tell in detail about it. Fraze syndrome is also called as the auriculotemporal nerve syndrome. So it is a post-op condition or even a traumatic condition. Any trauma to the parotid gland or during the operation, when the auriculotemporal nerve is cut, the auriculotemporal nerve will obviously regenerate. When it regenerates, instead of just supplying the parotid gland alone, it will also supply the sweat glands. Therefore, there will be a gustatory sweating and flushing of this auriculotemporal nerve region to these patients. So this is called as Fraze syndrome. Gland, so that it will be easy for you guys to present the answer in the exam. As the name says, parotid gland, para means around and otic means ear. It is the largest of the three pairs of salivary gland. Where exactly is this located? It is located in the retromandibular fossa or the parotid bed, and is enclosed by a fibrous sheath called as the parotid capsule. The external features of the parotid gland. So externally, if you see, parotid gland resembles a three-sided pyramid with four surfaces and three borders and an apex. The four surfaces are the posteromedial surface, that is this surface, the anteromedial surface, the base and the superficial surface. Then the borders are the posterior border, the anterior border, and this border over here is the medial border. Then we have an apex. So now let us move on to the relations. These are the two diagrams which depict the relations. This is the posteromedial surface, this is the anteromedial surface, and this is the posteromedial surface. The anteromedial surface is related to the ramus of mandible and the two muscles attached to it, that is the medial pterygoid and the masseter. The posteromedial surface, we have the mastoid process, and sternocleidomastoid and posterior belly of digastric are the two muscles which are attached to the mastoid process. Then we have the styloid process. Stylopharyngeus, stylohyoid and styloglossus are the three muscles which are attached to the styloid process. Then we have the carotid sheath, which encloses the internal jugular vein, the internal carotid artery, and the ninth, 10th, 11th, and the 12th cranial nerves. Okay, the structures which are present within the parotid gland. There are three structures, that is the external carotid artery, the retromandibular vein, and the facial nerve. The structure which is related with the apex of the parotid gland is the auriculotemporal nerve. Now let us move on to the structures related to the borders. The anterior border is related to the facial nerve and its branches, that is the temporal branch, the zygomatic branch, the upper buccal, the lower buccal, the marginal mandibular, and the cervical branch of the facial nerve, along with the transverse facial vessels. The posterior border is related to the posterior auricular vein, the posterior auricular artery, the posterior auricular nerve, that is the van structures. The superficial surface is related to the skin, the superficial fascia. We have the branches of the greater auricular nerve over here, which supply the sensory nerve supply to the parotid gland. Then we have the deep and the superficial parotid lymph nodes, which help in the lymph drainage. Now let us move on to the clinical anatomy. Accessory parotid gland, mumps parotitis, abscess in the parotid gland, that is pus collection, xylography, which is a radiological procedure to visualize the parotid duct and its course, Frey's syndrome, also called as auriculotemporal nerve syndrome, mixed parotid tumor, also called as pleomorphic adenoma, and parotidectomy, nothing but the removal of parotid gland. That's it. Thank you.